everyone. My name is Jennifer Van Alstyne. Welcome to the new season of The Social Academic. This blog, podcast, and YouTube channel is about managing your online presence in academia. And today we're going to be talking about teaching and educational resources. I'm delighted to introduce my guest to you, Dr. Elizabeth McAlpin, who is Director of Educational Research Technology at New York University. Elizabeth, thanks so much for joining me today. Would you please introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about your role at NYU?
Sure. I am, as you said, Director of Educational Technology Research at NYU. I have been in this role for a little over 7 years now and at NYU for almost 10 years. I did my PhD at NYU and a master's in educational technology at NYU. So I have a very long history with NYU. So I used to, when I was a student there, I used to say I literally had multiple hats: student, alumni, faculty, and administrator.
Wow.
So yeah, all of them. I was the face of NYU. So my role there specifically is to collaborate with faculty who are looking to make pedagogical changes to their courses, and that usually involving some sort of media or technology. We had a very large kind of provostial push many years ago to encourage faculty to start using technology and trying it out and seeing how well that could enhance their courses and make things easier and better for themselves as well as for students. So I will work with them in part sometimes to either develop a technology. Sometimes that might be a virtual reality project that they might want to use in their course or in their program, as well as conduct research, kind of scholarly research we might call it, to see how well that is impacting student learning in their classroom or in their program. And we'll aim to actually publish those findings as well. So that's my main role. And I work across, I'm a central resource. So I work with all schools, departments at NYU.
That is amazing. Now, because you've been at NYU for so long, you were a student there, you've worked there, and now you're director there. I'm curious, you have an internal personal academic website. Is that something that you created when you were a student or in your newer role?
No, I created it there was a time where I was both a student and in my current role. So I was finishing my PhD while I was still a director. And I created it not for really just the purpose of my own kind of portfolio site. I do have a presence at NYU that shows my service within the structure of research and instruction and technology, which is my department, and that is within NYU IT. So I have my department and then my larger umbrella and then the larger umbrella under that. Lots of umbrellas. So it does get a little bit lost sometimes in that filter, but it is present there. But it doesn't describe me personally. It describes my service to faculty and to the university. So it's not focused on me per se. The portfolio site is more to showcase some of the work that I have done in the past, and most of that is mainly at NYU, but it does show also kind of list my CV and prior work experience as well as teaching experience and the like. And that's mainly, I think, in the event, life changes and I need to pivot quickly, and look for other work or something like that, that I have something available and ready to show.
I love that. And actually, when I was exploring your site, it was fun for me to see the different types of videos that you were posting about educational technology projects you were working on and collaborating with faculty. I liked that even though this was a portfolio site, it sounds like maybe a just in case site, that it was helping me just like prepare for this interview and get to know a little bit more about you. At what point did you create that website?
I was many years ago, and that's actually it's hosted through NYU. NYU does provide faculty a WordPress service that they can use just for that. Sometimes they might want to use it to create a portfolio on for grants that they have received or want to receive, and that they can provide that to their grant funders. It's just another way, I think, to showcase the work that gets done. So it is an internally managed WordPress hosting site. It's not something I pay for externally, and all faculty have that available to them.
I love that. Did NYU encourage you to create a site, or was it just something you learned about and then decided to make yourself?
I think when I knew the service was available and I was teaching there as well, I decided that it was a good idea, and why not? I mean, if it's free and I don't have to pay for it, I mean,
Exactly.
there's no non-incentive not to do it.
Yes, that's great. Now, your portfolio definitely had a nice list of videos where you've actually collaborated with faculty to create resources and technologies for their classrooms. Can you tell me about one of the videos that you were excited to share on your website?
Yeah, I mean, so before I was a director of research, I was a director that oversaw a very large team of instructional designers and media producers. And, our role was to create a lot of this content for faculty to be used in their courses. So I learned a great deal about each faculty member that I worked with, and their particular expertise. And so it's a kind of a wonderful way to learn more, because I love learning, and kind of create and produce those videos. So most of those were created with a team of people, and they would be scripted and prepared and imagery selected for them ahead of time. And so they were very well planned out videos that were used in their courses. Or they were videos demonstrating a virtual reality project. I think one of the first videos that's in the list is something more recent that I've worked on with faculty, which is a virtual reality project to help teach students how to deliver local anesthesia in a dental setting. So that just kind of describes what that project is about. The others are a little bit more content related to courses specifically. But they're just fascinating and visually, I think, engaging pieces of work. But we did a lot of different things, a lot of interactive pieces, um, videos, games, etc., simulations.
Wow, that's so cool. And I love that there is support at NYU for faculty who are looking to introduce those kind of newer technologies into their pedagogy, into their teaching. I'm curious, what technologies are faculty really curious about exploring? Like, I'm coming from like literature field, and I feel like there is like newer, maybe AR or VR technology that can be introduced into that, but most faculty just aren't aware of it. So I'm curious, what are faculty at NYU curious about learning now?
Artificial intelligence. It's a really big topic right now, because it has so many unknowns. I mean, I think there are still a lot of faculty that are hesitant to, use a lot of technology. I think since COVID and a lot of faculty had to go online during that time period, it was a big change for them. But it did kind of give them that opportunity to learn more about technologies that they could use moving forward. And so there's, giving Zoom presentations, learning how to present, use technologies within Zoom for their classes, making hybrid courses or fully online courses, versions of them. And then they learning just how to create better videos for their courses, um, not relying so much on lecture as being the time used in the classroom anymore.
Mm.
Pulling the lecture out, making that into a video or something, and using the classroom for more discussion or interactive uses of the time with their students.
That is so
because
cool.
that is such a precious amount of time. And then, um, you know, there is a handful of faculty that are very interested in virtual reality and augmented reality. Those are mainly in the sciences and medical fields. Um, and now artificial intelligence is the biggest buzz in at the university. You know, how are faculty going to manage using artificial intelligence, chat GPT, in a productive and constructive way, as opposed to ways that students want to teach and write their papers.
Mm.
So,
It's kind of a like a shifting in how we think about artificial intelligence in the classroom from like very fear-based to like how can it be a part of it in a meaningful way. Oh, that's
mhm,
really interesting.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on it? What how are you feeling about artificial intelligence in pedagogy?
I think there can be a lot of really great uses of it, so long as it is well planned out. Um, because at the, you know, we're not, there are efficiencies to using things like ChatGPT, that we didn't have before,
Mm.
and that can be wonderful. Even doing, you know, literature reviews and things like that through ChatGPT, can help speed up that process. You know, we don't have to go to a library. We know we didn't have to go to a library before to do a lot of our research on articles, because now they're all digitized. We can do that through an online library system. So it just gets a little bit closer to making things more efficient. Maybe we'll have more doctoral students coming out of it. I'm not really sure, but the uh, so it's not, I think there's always going to be pros and cons with whatever technology comes before us. Um, and that we have to acknowledge it. We have to understand what are the risks and what are the affordances, and
Mm.
work with that. I think that's always going to be the case. Um, you know, I mean, there's just like with a calculator was one of those first tools that came out that people were like, oh, well, you don't have to do math, don't have to learn math anymore because you can just use a calculator, you know. It just, regardless of all of that, yes, we will turn to our calculators to make sure we're right in our math. So these are not, it's not a new problem and it's not a new risk.
Ooh.
I think some of it comes also down to making sure that when we're using these tools, that we're not also putting our students at risk, being like with identifiable information or grades and things like that. So again, I think it's a constant conversation to have with faculty, on best uses and practices of these technologies and tools, and to keep monitoring those risks and the things that are going to come up, because they're just going to come up. They just always will. You know, when students get very stressed out and they are under pressure, they are more apt to want to cheat or have
Mm.
something or someone help them get the work done. So again, maybe reviewing how much work we are imposing on our students, or, you know, understanding maybe that their social lives are taking a precedence and they need to dial it back and focus on their academic careers, things like that. It's always going to balance between, is it the student's problem, is it our problem, and how do we find a happy medium in between?
Oh, I
Um,
really like that. I think that that is such a beautiful point because I mean, especially when I was a student, my parents had just passed away. I was working so hard, and there were times when I struggled to keep up. And my teacher's empathy for like understanding what I was going through, even just a little bit, made it feel like such a safe place in the classroom and made me really excited to learn, even if I was a little bit behind in some areas. And so I really loved what you just said. Now, let me ask, which of the technologies you just shared with me are you most excited about? Because, like you talked about AR, VR, artificial intelligence, games, like which of those kind of forms of teaching like excites you?
I've been working so much in virtual reality recently in
Yeah.
the past few years, so I guess that's been the most exciting. And I mean, I've been working with one faculty member for almost 10 years, and we've
Wow.
we just keep evolving her resources for her course, which is a really large, almost 400 students in her course.
Oh my
And
goodness.
the virtual reality project that we have for her, we keep trying to find ways to improve the experience overall. So we've just gotten into working with other faculty in the School of Engineering on how to create kind of custom haptics for that virtual reality simulation.
Just
Because
for everyone who's listening who maybe don't know what haptics are, would you maybe
yeah,
explain that for us?
sure. So a virtual reality out of the box headset comes with the headset and two hand controllers. When you're trying to learn a procedure that involves medical instruments like, a syringe or a scalpel if you're doing surgery, you want to know and feel what that device feels, is like as you are performing the procedure. It's actually, it's not just cognitive, it is tactile, it's procedural, it has multiple learning and practice components to it. So a hand out of the box hand controllers is not particularly authentic to actually holding a syringe and performing or practicing learning that procedure. So working with engineers has helped us, they developed a 3D printed syringe and connected that to a haptic device that now students can pick up and actually feel something that's more authentic to that experience as they are in a virtual reality simulation and going through those procedural steps. It never is going to replace learning on an actual patient, but we're trying to prepare them to get as close as possible to a real patient experience before they work with a patient, because there's so many risks involved in working with a real patient. So that's the impetus behind that, and it's an ongoing process. So we keep learning and we keep trying to make things better. And that's, for us, part of the learning process as well. And that's what's exciting.
Oh, that sounds so exciting. And I love that it's been an ongoing kind of project and exploration over 10 years, it sounds like, in order to improve the teaching and tools in that course. Now, one of the things that I wanted to chat about today for faculty who might be listening to this is that when you do create educational resources or tools like this, it'd be great to share it on your personal academic website or on social media. And now these tools don't just help your students and other faculty at your university, they might help or inspire faculty across the world. I really want you to know that when you do take time to share those educational resources that you've made in a new way, in a way that is accessible for people who aren't directly in your classroom or talking with you at a conference one on one, that you can actually help more people with the hard work you've already done just by sharing it. So there's so many things you can share on your personal website related to teaching. I thought I'd just list a few for those who are listening. Your syllabi, course descriptions, any videos or tools like PDF resources or guides that can go on your personal academic website if you find that it's helpful for you or your students. I have had professor clients who actually create lists of internal resources and external resources at their university that they regularly share with not just one class, but multiple. Putting that on their personal website creates a kind of home for it where their students can go and find those resources when it makes sense for them. So I want you to know that your personal website, it can be a portfolio, and that portfolio can be for the job market. It can be for, grants, like Dr. McAlpin said. And it can also be for your students. So there's so many ways to share the amazing teaching and educating that you do online. And I want you to not hide from that if you have resources to share. Now, Dr. McAlpin, why did you choose to actually share those videos on your website? I mean, I think that that's the step that a lot of people are missing. They create things and then they don't always decide to share them. So what prompted you to actually share the videos and some of the resources you've helped create?
I think, well, I mean, we're proud of the work that was done. I think
Yeah.
we want to show, kind of what is possible I mean, we're not creating things for, National Geographic or, some Nova, high production value thing. It doesn't have to be that. But we took as much, time and care as we possibly could, with very little budget at all, to make these resources. So I think it's just to show examples of what's possible, and change a little bit the narrative. I mean, I think we get so comfortable just lecturing, but when we don't have a visual idea sometimes for our students of what we're talking about as we're talking about it, it we don't want to cause a cognitive dissonance with that information either. So thinking very carefully about the words with the imagery or short clips of documentaries or films that go along with what we're saying to describe as examples of what we're talking about, so long as they're relevant, and not overdoing it, I think is a good way to connect what we say with our eyes. I mean, that we process these two things almost simultaneously, so we have that cognitive ability to do so, and we should take advantage of that ability. So that's, I think, what we try to encourage with faculty, and to make it a more enriching experience for our students.
That is beautiful. I'm so glad that we got to talk about this today. Elizabeth, is there anything else that you'd like to add about your website or about the amazing work that you do at NYU?
I mean, I think I list on there, I do sometimes workshops at the university, and those I get asked to do talks within the university. And I think those are important things to share, like this kind of conversation. We have something at NYU, it's called Teach Talks. That's through the Provost Department, and there's some other departments within the provost that do similar things, that connect with faculty to talk, let's just say, specifically about their assessment practices, their pedagogical practices. We haven't really had one that talks specifically about their research. And so that might be a missing link that we could try to fill. But and that's kind of more what my area is on the research end of that. So I think, these are great also resources for faculty to connect with other faculty, to learn more about new ways to do things, to inspire them to do things a little differently, and to kind of take a leadership role forward in that department. So I think that's more or less, what I provide on my website.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm so glad that you had your website and that I was able to explore it so we could have this conversation today. It makes such a difference when people are open to sharing a little bit more about themselves. And so I'm so happy that you are open to coming on the Social Academic to talk with me. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
No, if anyone has any questions, always available to answer them.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for listening to this new episode of The Social Academic. Be sure to share it with a friend if you think that they'd find it helpful, and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. I'm Jennifer Van Alstyne. I've been in conversation with Dr. Elizabeth McAlpin, and we're so excited to share this episode with you.
Thank you, Jennifer, for asking me to participate.
Thank you.